I'm here with John Rediker, one of the 10 candidates running for the Vail Town Council election this coming November. Thanks for coming, John. Really
Thanks
appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Briefly, tell us about yourself.
Well, I am a resident of West Vail, Colorado. I was born in Alabama, and when I was younger, lived up and down the East Coast. What brought me to Vail is skiing, so I learned how to ski when I was in my early teenage years on a mountain called Mohawk Mountain, outside of, or in upstate New York. After I graduated from college, I moved to Telluride, Colorado, and that was my introduction to Colorado. I've lived here essentially since 1994, not in the Vail area, but within the state of Colorado, having lived in, Telluride, Denver, Aspen, Snowmass, and here.
What made you want to run for council?
I've been very involved in various aspects of town governance over the years. I've served on the Planning Commission for over a decade. I've been involved with the Design Review Board, the Housing Authority, and I also currently sit on the Rec District Board of Directors. And I think that there are a number of important issues that are facing the town, and I wanted to be involved in them, namely some of the developments that we have on the horizon, continuing to formulate and evolve our housing, or how we are addressing housing. And so those are two of the primary reasons why the capital projects coming up and housing issues.
How much time per week have you budgeted for council work?
That would be significant, aside from the meeting, which is essentially the afternoon and evening. It's an all-day affair. It varies week to week, but based upon my experience with the Planning Commission and the Design Review Board, packets are very substantial. It takes a lot more than simply reading the packet in a cursory fashion. You not only have to prepare yourself in that way, but you also have to do a lot of things outside of reading the packet, doing your own research and analysis, which, for a standard meeting, I don't know that there is a standard meeting. Sometimes the agendas are longer or shorter, but you could easily spend 6-8 hours a full day preparing for a meeting.
Right. So it's rare in Vail, in a small town election like this, to get a chance to address all the voters at once. This interview is one of those options.
Yes.
And then the forum that we have is really the second. The rest is one-on-one. So using this as one of those options, what is your quick pitch on why someone should vote for you?
Well, without getting into specific issues that I think that are important, that need to be addressed, and I'll touch on those just briefly.
Please.
The environment, workforce housing, and fiscal responsibility, that's FISCAL responsibility, are the three things that I see that are most important facing our upcoming council. I think, if there was one thing that I would want the voters to know about me and why I'm qualified to do the job, I think it's probably my analytical skills. I'm an attorney, and having practiced law for, getting near 30 years, I have a very disciplined approach into the way I address issues. I believe that decision-making should be based upon facts and evidence, the best facts and evidence available to people. In order to make decisions at the council level, you not only need to be able to absorb information that's provided to you by staff, but you need to be able to research on your own. You also need to have the confidence to ask the difficult questions of whether it's a presenter, a developer, an applicant on an issue. You need to have the confidence to be able to ask the difficult questions, address the difficult issues, and my background lends itself to being able to do those things.
What are you doing to get that message out?
What am I doing to
Yeah.
get that message out? Talking to people, participating in forums such as this. That's it so far.
Yep. That's one of the nice things about a small town election is you can really almost talk to everybody.
Yes.
A question that I've asked the other candidates is asking if they've been politically active in the town before, but you've already given us your list, DRB, PEC. Weren't you on the Chamonix housing, the West Vail master plan?
I participated in that committee.
Yeah, you've participated in a lot of committees, and
Yes.
I've seen you for years. So why don't we go give you a chance to talk a little bit more in depth about those three issues that you brought up. If you want to give, not just name the issues, but tell us your thoughts on those.
Yeah, I mean, two of them that are really kind of, I think one of them is more of an esoteric issue, the environment, and I'll come back to that. We have a lot of initiatives on the town level. On the other two issues, let's talk about first about workforce housing. I think that our current council and past councils have made a good push in recent years to bring a lot of types of or a lot of housing online. We need to take a step back. We need to continue some of those initiatives, developing on the north side of I-70, using those properties in order to be able to provide a significant number of beds. One thing that I want to make sure that's not left behind is that we are providing affordable housing options for people, not just building housing for the sake of housing, but real people that live in town need to be able to afford it. We also need to focus on families. Not a lot of our current options that are coming online are good opportunities for young people or older people to live in town with families. We need to focus on that, and I think that there are some good opportunities to do that in the future. Fiscal responsibility really looks at the major capital projects that we have coming down the pipeline. I can name a few things: the Civic Center redevelopment in conjunction with Dobson. We're looking at having to redo the Lions Head garage. We're talking about the municipal center property. All of these capital projects are going to be massive, and we've had a little bit of a comfort zone with our budgets in the past to be able to engage in projects and not worry so much about cost and planning for the future. That's not the environment that we're in anymore. Construction costs are through the roof. All the capital projects that I just mentioned and more are things that we're talking about that are going to be $50 million. Some of them are going to be in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And in order to achieve fiscal responsibility, we need to do a few things. One is council members need to visit how we approach major projects such as this. That means we need to streamline and harmonize our bidding processes, how we retain developers, contractors to move these projects forward. And then councilors are going to need to be able to lend a critical eye to the budgets of these projects. And that's not what necessarily everyone likes to do, and it's not in everybody's wheelhouse, but it is important that our future councilors scrutinize budgets on these massive projects going forward. I'll try to be brief. The environment, our town has engaged in a number of great environmental initiatives, whether it's cleaning up Gore Creek, whether it's developing our new mobility plan, composting, recycling, all of the initiatives that have been brought forth by the town sustainability staff have really benefited our town, and it allows us to set an example for other communities and what we can do to do our part. Unfortunately, my major concern with the environment is climate change. And that's something that's not necessarily easy for us to address, but we need to continue to work. And really, I think that's, since it's the most pressing issue, if it doesn't snow here in 50 years, what are we all doing here right now? And that's the major concern for me for future generations. And I think that we need to build upon some of the initiatives with the CAC and other avenues, lobbying state and federal legislators to let them know the importance of climate change and the impact, the practical impact that it's having upon our town and other ski communities. And I think that there may be some more initiatives that we can participate in that regard.
Here's a very different question. What do you like to do for fun when you're not serving on all these boards and you're not working?
Well, my favorite two things to do are, aside from spending time with my wife, are skiing and fishing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Both things that you can do in Vail without driving too far.
Yeah, I can walk down the hill and fish in Gore Creek if I'd like, or I can drive down the road and fish on the Eagle, and I can drive down the road or get on the bus and go into town and go skiing. It's a pretty charmed life I lead.
Do you own any investment properties in Vail?
I do not.
Okay. So the reason I asked that question is leading into another issue that's rearing its head is the short-term rental regulations.
Yes.
So any thoughts on that? I know
it's a complicated
there's been some
issue.
changes recently, and
yeah, so that's a complicated issue. I recognize the damage that VRBO and Airbnb have done to the housing stock and the ability of people that work in our community to find places to rent. At the same time, we have to be careful with regulations in regard to short-term rentals because we have a number of properties in Lions Head and other areas of town that we have encouraged to the development of condominiums and townhomes that are the properties operate as hotels. Those under proposed guidelines in the past would have fallen under the type of regulations where we're trying to reach out to neighborhoods and limit the amount of homes and whatnot that are being rented. You can't tell a property like, say, for instance, where my wife used to work, the Antlers in Lions Head. Those are all condominiumized. Those homeowners rent their units like they were hotel rooms. We need to be careful that we're tailoring any regulations so as not to impede the operations of places such as those.
Yep. So we are coming down to the end of our 15 minutes.
Okay.
So one more opportunity to succinctly or relatively succinctly give the voters the reason why they should vote for you.
Well, I think people should vote for me when you're looking at a candidate. I think that issues are important. I think the most important thing about being a town councilor is bringing the energy and discipline that is necessary in order to do the job effectively. And I touched on this a little while ago. There is a lot of preparation that is involved. You don't want town councilors that skim packets or just read them once. You want town councilors
It's very obvious.
that have analytical skills.
Yeah.
Town councilors that are not afraid to challenge determinations made by staff or statements made by developers. Town councilors that are willing to roll up their sleeves, dig into things that aren't very sexy, like budgets, and be able to make decisions based upon facts and reasoned analysis and do the homework that's involved there. And that's what I've done over the years, whether it's been on the planning commission or in my job as an attorney. It's what I'm good at. And that's, the best thing that I can offer voters.
Right.
Issues come and go. Ability is something that I think remains constant.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate your being here.